Okay. Before we get started this week, I just want to go over a little bit of what we talked about last week and then just do like a little reminder for the text we're reading and how we should approach it. So the receiving Nur, the halakha style has changed a little bit, so we want it to be more of a discussion. So at any time, feel free to raise your hand, or if you're shy, you can send a comment. We can read it out loud. We really want to critically engage with the text. So if anything doesn't make sense, if you have any questions, just feel free. It's a small group, so we can definitely manage it. And the text can be a little dense. So that's why if you get any time during the week, it's good to read ahead a little bit and see if like anything comes up. So last week, sorry about my cat. Last week we talked about, we started our subject. So this is the 29th word. It's about the angels, the resurrection, and the immortality of man's spirit. We are talking about why these sorts of beings, angels and spirits, have to exist, why it's a pillar of faith to believe in them, what it means to believe in something like that, and how can I actually confirm that they exist based on my daily day-to-day experience in life. So as we're reading, this should be kind of in the back of our minds. And that's kind of what I mean when I say we should critically engage with the text. So, you know, Nursi is making a claim and is trying to make us understand like how we can relate to angels and spirit beings and what they mean for us in our lives. So they are not something that we just believe in, and that's the end of the story, but they actually are relevant to my life here and now and every day. So we kind of want to read with that vision. And if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead. I'll read and then we can get started. If you guys thought about any of the things that we talked about last week, and if you guys want to start us off, that's also very welcome. So I had sent a few sentences. If anyone had any time to reflect, please share right now.
Yeah, I wanted to share something. One of the things that Dr. Yamina suggested that we think about is why would we need angels? What do we feel the need? And I think if I recall correctly, the suggestion was that if we have the need, then and the question, then the answer is going to be sent, and we'll be more open to receiving an answer. So I briefly kind of reflected on that, and I think one thing for me was to look around and why would I need angels? I think it's because I felt like it's because all of these areas all around me and all around in the world, that there's a presence that I would like to not see the world as dead and just empty. And then a thought came to me. I was like, "What? But I don't want to be always with like beings around me. I like being alone also, sitting in my living room, nobody's home and just looking outside. I don't want to be always, in a crowd." But then I felt like, well, that's interesting. Is that a resistance, or is that a way of saying I don't need angels? And then I think one thing that came to my heart is that it's not about not being lonely in the sense of constantly being surrounded by beings. not what I need, or that's not what is meant necessarily from angels, but it is the need to see the world around me as actually glorifying and praising this unseen transcendent creator. And I really felt that's the need, because I've been around in halakas for a long time, and it's one thing to talk about it and another thing is to feel. So I am convinced at this point in my life intellectually that absolutely the things are not mute, they are giving us news from beyond. I feel I'm intellectually convinced about it, and we have had a lot of halakas, alhamdulillah, unpacking that reasons for it, but I have a need to feel it. And when I look around, you know, in where I live, there are beautiful trees, and I still it's not as easy for me to look at those trees, and it's one of the best times of the year. You know, it's still, the fall hasn't taken away all the leaves yet. You know, there's so many beautiful leaves and everything, and I look around and I still feel I'm a bit blank despite all these halakas over the years. And I don't want, I really want to start sensing, feeling in a deeper way that there are tasbihat, there are glorifications ongoing in the tree, in this bird, in this mud, and in the cars. You know, like you can expand it, but at least I want to start with natural things. And again, that I felt is my need. Like, why do I need angels? Why would I want to confirm them or even talk about angels beyond what we do in Sunday school? As we mentioned last time, we learn that there are angels and these are the types, and that's that. And why do we want to go deeper into it? For me, it's a need to really see everything glorifying, as the Quran keeps reminding us, keeps claiming that everything is making tasbih, and I want to, you know, hear that orchestra. And one last thing, I happen to be reading from Masnawi of Muhammad Jalaluddin Rumi, and I came across the couplet just yesterday, and he was saying, for Ahmed, peace be upon him, everything is glorifying, and for the Prophet, whereas for us, he says it's look like they're just dumb, sitting there for nothing. So that's difference, the huge difference of how I hear the world around me or don't. That's what it is take for me at this point in trying to understand angels.
Thank you for sharing. That was lovely. Any other reflections?
May I say something?
Yes, of course.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
Thank you for inviting me. I also bring with me the president of Muslim Association of Clark University, Besma. She's a student of biology. I want her to also to know you and also Dr. Yamina. But Nurbanu, I think the problem is for late 2 centuries. It's epistemological problem. And since the positivist and materialist philosophy, later also we all educated in a secular school system, in a secular society. And, you know, just go, in the Middle Ages and also in ancient Greeks and also Maya culture, India culture, always people believe something beyond nature. Just look at the Greek mythology. You see, they are just, they feel there must be something. This is human being, you know, they just have feeling. This is what Ustad says, that haqiqat, the reality necessitates the existence of angels. I think he points to this fact. In all cultures in the past, in history, people just they do not satisfy with what is the physical reality. And just last week there was in New York City a 2-day workshop on the pan-physicisim. Many leading scholars, especially Australian philosopher David Chalmers, said, I do believe that there is a consciousness in somewhere in the universe, but I couldn't point it is here. But all this, and even he says, in every neuron has a consciousness. Just, this is why, Ustaz, I think the Quran is just educate us what is about what is unseen. This is why الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. The first, when we look at the first verse of the Quran, اقرأ بِسْمِ رَبِّكَ الَّذِي خَلَقَ. Yes, it is the Prophet ﷺ invited to read the book of the universe, but in the name of the Creator, which is unseen. But with the, and you also, you know very well, there is the reason, epistemologically reason, or reason and experience, which is, the foundation of positive philosophy. But there was also intuition and also heart, especially in Muhammad Iqbal and Ustad Said Nursi and all other Muslim scholars. They underlined again and again importance of heart and also intuition. This is also, I think, also in the Western philosophy, from Plato to the Pascal, there are many philosophers, thinkers. They're also not satisfied with the physical world. Therefore, I think we will try to understand what is beyond. Of course, there will be a lot of views, a lot of interpretations, but as Isra said very well, I psychologically feel I am not alone. I am not lonely. I am not worthless. I am in a meaningful world.
Yeah, when Israel Abloh was talking, I was thinking about recently I was telling my brother about the news and how so much of the news we see is very negative. And I was telling him how sometimes that's to make us feel hopeless, because most of what we see is just negative things happening in the world, and that kind of skews our perception of reality. And what she was saying, it made me think, like, when I look around and I see that there is a constant celebration, there's a constant orchestra, it would make the way I look at world so different. So if I was actually able to see the constant glorification, the constant praise, right? Like I look around and I see that every atom, every subatomic particle, and everything I see around me and myself, it's intentionally and continuously being created, and it's conscious and it has its own consciousness too, then I don't feel as easily lured away into hopelessness or despair or these feelings of like loneliness and stuff. So I think you're right, and I think we're definitely going to go into that, especially with this week's reading, depending on how far we get into it. If anyone else has anything to say, they can go ahead, or I will start reading right now.
I just would pose a question to keep in mind.
Yes, go ahead.
Because this is the question that's coming to me intuitively is something about learning about angels changing the way I look at myself, my core identity.
I like that. Okay.
I think this is Ladies Khalaqa. I think you just also remember the first lady who saw the angel Jibril was Mary alayhi salam. And it is very clear in the Quran. Mary alayhi salam just saw the Jibril, Gabriel. And it is a very important, I think. So the psychology of Mary when she saw Jibril alayhi salam is very important. And also the Quran presents, Ibrahim alayhi salam also and his wife they saw they hosted angels. There's a lot of stories in the Quran But it was very meaningful to me, you know. It is narrated that when she gave birth to the Jesus alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, she saw Jibril very clearly. Yeah.
Right. So to summarize that, for me, what I'm taking is, did Maryam alayhi salam see herself, understand her own existence in some way that I potentially am being invited to understand my own self and
Yeah.
my own existence?
Yeah.
I really like that. I think that can be one of the things we can also think about in this halaqah, and until next week's halaqah, inshallah. Thank you, Inaba.
Inshallah.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad. Okay, so I'll start reading here, and then we can just go again. Please feel free to raise your hands or send any comments, and we'll get to it. Indeed, a species of the spirit beings and angels is present in every aspect, in every sphere of the universe, each charged with a duty of worship. It may be said, according to both the narrations of Hadith and the wisdom in the order of the world, that from lifeless planets and stars to raindrops, all are ships or vehicles for a kind of angel. The angels mount these vehicles with divine permission and travel observing the manifest world. They represent their praise and glorification. It also may be said that certain sorts of living bodies act as aeroplanes for different kinds of spirits. From the birds of paradise, called the green birds in a hadith which says, the spirits of the people of paradise enter into green birds in the intermediate realm and travel around paradise in them, to flies, each is a vehicle for a sort of spirit. The spirits enter into them at a divine command, and through the faculties and senses of those living bodies, like the eyes and ears, observe the miracles of creation in the corporeal world. They perform the particular glorification of each. This part was interesting to me because when the first few times I read it, I was really stuck on the green bird thing, and I was just thinking, oh my God, like, why does it have to be these green birds? Why flies? Why do they need them? So a different way of thinking about it emerged in a different halaqah. So we were thinking of how the realms we're thinking about here are different. So we need to be embodied to interact with the physical world, right? The same way that we are right now. There is a Nur Banu that is in charge of this body, but it needs the body to interact with the world, to be able to speak, to see, to drink water, and to exist here and actually communicate or have an exchange with the physical world. And then I was thinking about it. So to me, it feels like there is a physical plane of existence, and then superexposed on it, just on top of it, is this spiritual angelic realm that includes my spirit, and then it also includes the meanings we make or the reflections. So that's kind of like how I was envisioning this, and then that's why I stopped being caught up on the green bird, and I just thought of it as like it's kind of just like a tool. It might have some wisdom that I just don't know about, but I was thinking, and then in a different halaqah, we gave the example of how, for people who go to space, they have to wear spacesuits to get out of like the rockets. It seems sort of like that. So like those spirits, our spirits also, when they want to come into this realm, or that when they want to interact with this realm, they kind of have to put on a spacesuit or a world suit of some sort. And that sort of made sense to me. But if anyone had different interpretations of this, I'd be interested to hear, or I will continue. No? Okay.
This paragraph was a major pause. And I'm going to call on Dr. Yamina to help, because I have beloved people who have passed on to the other side. And when I was in a Muslim country, at one point before my brother passed, Allah yarhamu, I remember a cousin saying something like, "Oh yeah, and the fly could be our grandma." And I was like, "Yeah, no, we don't believe in that." So, and you know, I know that other just walks of life and people who have different philosophies on existence, they do believe in this sort of incarnation of spirits into bodies, and that's kind of what it sounded like a little bit to me. And then I felt excited at what the language is saying, but also just confused, because it is a big sort of like, how do we know? It makes sense, like you're saying, like the astronaut and the spirits need physical bodies to engage with the physical existence. And I mean, I don't know if this is appropriate or not, Dr. Yamina, you can kind of help us. This can go a lot of different places, and I'm not sure what the limits are of understanding this. But I know, for example, my brother, Allah yarhamu, does have access somehow to what's going on in our world. Like he knows what's going on, and I don't know how he knows. But somehow in the dream world, we'll have, you know, some comment or something that leads me to confirm that he does see, but I don't know how. So I don't know if this sentence was referring to spirits enter into them at divine command, and through the faculties and senses of those living bodies, like eyes and ears, they observe miracles of creation in the corporeal world. I'm just like, wait, can we stay here for a minute? And I would like to ask Dr. Yamina what you think. I mean, yeah, well, you know, is that true? Yeah.
Well, Assalamu alaikum. For me, the first two paragraphs are more important. The one when it talks about the green birds, these are in paradise. This is happening in paradise, not in the world. But he's saying it may be said that certain sort of living bodies act as aeroplanes for different kinds of spirits. And he's referring there to the hadith that says, the spirits of the people of paradise, this is happening in paradise, it's not for everyone, enter the green birds, these tuyurun khudrun, in the alam barzakh, the intermediate realm where after death there is the intermediate realm where people would wait for the day of judgment. But the moment we die, before even the angels come and ask us the questioning us, the ruh already, the angels take, it is said in again hadith, that the ruh, the spirit, is taken to the heavens, and the believer's spirit is welcomed and is given the good news of paradise, and comes back, is sent back to to earth, to the body, to answer the questions. And for the unbeliever, or those who, let's say, the others will have the news that they are not people of paradise. They will, that time, everyone will know So these are special people who are, while in that intermediate world, are taken like on a cruise in paradise. But what is important here is what he says at the beginning, which is, he says, indeed, a species of the spirit beings, again, this is the Ruhaniyat and Malaika and the angels, is present in every aspect, in every sphere of the universe. This we need to at least know this intellectually. Once it becomes clear, then it becomes clearer for us when what to reflect on, what to look for in life. In every aspect, in every sphere of the universe, there are angels. Each is charged with the duty of ubudiyya. So ubudiyya is more than just ibadah, remember? Ubudiyya is they are in a state of worship. That's what they are created for. And it may be said, according to both the narrations of hadith and the hikmah, the way the world is created, that reveals wisdom, that from lifeless planets and stars to raindrops, everything, they are all hissing ships. Here it means they are markab, they are the let's say the body, how do you say, something that you ride, anything that you ride, a vehicle for a kind of angel, because everything has meaning. When Isra was talking about what do I need, one of the very fundamental needs that we have is a need for meaning. And that meaning is only meaningful, and purpose is only purpose if it has a non-transient, a permanent meaning that looks to perfection, that looks to beauty, that looks to the divine attributes. Anything else, it's permanent and eternal, but it looks to darkness, to chaos, to evil things. That's not our need. So this meaning is related to what Nur Banu and Isra referred to at the beginning, which is the praising, the tasbihat, the glorifications of the creation. This glorification, the meaning of this glorification, the meaning of the divine names must be sustained through, there must be a recipient for it, because usually when we say, okay, most people just say, I believe in God, they mean, they don't mean. Actually, what it boils down to is, I don't deny God. It's like I believe in angels, means I don't deny their existence. But in the Quran, we are taught to not only not deny, that's fitri, it's in our fitra to accept something. But what is that something? We need the help of God speaking to us, showing us guidance. That's the Quran and the Prophet, the guidance of the Prophet. So we say, okay, we want to reflect on the creation as we are taught in the Quran, and usually we go shortcut, which is correct, but the more we reflect, the more we will realize that we are missing some steps there, which is we look at beings, we see the art, we see the beauty, we see the wisdom, we see the order, and we say there must be an orderer, someone who is wise or a source of wisdom or someone who creates with beauty and art and wisdom and all this. This is all correct, but we are going a little too fast. Once this is established, and we have no doubt about it, we're certain that what we are seeing must be the product of this being, God, our sustainer. Then we start realizing that, yes, but there is in the creation, because realize we are jumping from the created to the creator. And some people will find it, people who are not believers or who convince themselves with a materialistic approach and go against the fitrah, they will find it difficult. They will, because they feel the jump. But the jump feels natural because it is in our fitrah, already knows the creator. That's why. But then we realize that in the created world, there is a recipient to these attributes, to this wisdom. There is consciousness. All things are done, are glowing with consciousness. Just like there is life, there is consciousness. Things are being done orderly. It means consciously. So the one who is fulfilling or doing the work, that is, there must be something there. The tree can't be just life without any consciousness. There must be something in it that looks to consciousness, that looks to those beautiful names. And that thing, that aspect is what looks to the angels. And that's what's doing the this duty of ubudiyah, of worship and worshipfulness. And that's why when we are reflecting and contemplating and we see these huge, beautiful trees, we say they are beautiful and we feel like just at peace. We can just stay there and watch them. What is watching and what is getting that peaceful connection is not our flesh and bones. Something, it's the ruh in us, the spirit is being fed, just like the body needs air and water and food. The spirit also needs something else. It needs the glorification, the praising, the beautiful names. And that it's getting it through something in the tree. It's not the wood and the physical part of the tree, but the meaning part, the glorification part, the angelic part that's speaking. They are from the same, how do you say, subtle, a different realm. Then he says, it may be said, according to both the narration of hadith and the wisdom. Oh, okay, sorry, well, that's what we read. The angels mount these vehicles with divine permission. Again, we know this because first we know that everything happens. Not only we know, but we have inferred from our observations, our shahada. And we are also told in the Quran, especially for the angels, they do exactly what they are told. They follow and fulfill the divine commands. And they travel observing the manifest world. The manifest world here is alam al-shahada. It means the world that we can interact with. Here, shahada doesn't mean seeing with eyes or with ears or with the five senses. It could be with other senses as well. For instance, meaning. For instance, as was mentioned in the beginning, the need for, or and Urbano repeated, the need for this beautiful messages all the time. Who is broadcasting these messages? These messages, yes, they are from God, but they are coming through something that is created with the ability to communicate with us. That's the angelic. Communicate with our spirit and feed our spirit. Not only we need the constant praise everywhere, just like the media, as if Shaitan knows, so they are bombarding us all the time with negativity. So because if we have pauses, then we may question it. But if we are in our fitri alignment with our inner true being, who we truly are, our spirit, our ruh, our soul, then we will be aligned with the meanings that are being broadcasted everywhere, the praising and the glorifications, and we will feel, we will answer, they will make us, because when we see something awesome, it brings into us that awe that we say, MashaAllah, Subhanallah, and we become, we echo the glorifications. And for me, it adds another, it takes care of another need, which is the relief that although I can understand that God's God's awesomeness and the awesomeness of his creation and the perfection of everything he creates, even the things that I can't see, even the things that I can see in everyday life, even in my own body, I do not spend that much time glorifying God and praising him because of my own shortcoming. But even if I wanted to do it, I would not be doing anything else. So I feel whatever it is, together with my shortcoming, it's so, our worshipfulness, our ubudiyah and ibadah, our glorification, our appreciating God's blessings, our praising him is so tiny compared with what is coming to us through us in our life, let alone what we are aware of, but we are not directly, but indirectly. So the fact that I know that everywhere there are appreciators, praisers, glorifiers, it makes me, personally, I feel like relieved, alhamdulillah, that it is being done. And that was the subject, the topic of the introduction, that all these things that are created, there must be in such a wonderful way, they must have accordingly beings that appreciates them. And those beings are angels and other spirit beings.
I just want to say that Jazakallah khair, Dr. Yamina, and the last thing that you said is very interesting, because I used to think that, you know, angels praise God, but really that clearly wasn't sufficient. That's why Adam was created, Adam and Eve, you know, humanity was created. That's the way I tended to think. So then all these references in the Quran about angels.
That's true in another sense.
Yeah, but
More in comprehensiveness, it's only a human being. It's true.
yeah, and a special potential of being embodied and having free will and so on. But but if I am only looking from that perspective, it was hard to relate to Quranic passages that constantly refer to how angels praise God, around the arsh, around the throne, and so many. There are a lot of references in the Quran about angels praising God. And I was like, okay, they praise, but what is needed is our praise. That was kind of now I realize my implicit assumption, that this gives me some food for reflection, that to consider. I mean, I had never thought of it that way, that it would be a relief. I guess from a true deeper sense of appreciating the awesomeness of creation, that need to say, well, this really needs to be glorified more. This really needs to be praised more. There has to be a kind of more intense glorification in response to this manifestation. That to even think that could be my need, that I have a need to see a larger, bigger response of glorification to this immense reality of creation. It was kind of mentioned last time too, but I think this time it became clearer than
Imam Nursi mentions it in the 24th word, if you remember. He says, human being, the more conscious we are, the more can, even though our ability is limited, he can say, I cannot praise you 24/7 with the intensity of all these beings, but I can, that's what Khalifa is, a representative. My intention is to present, if I could, I would, and I want to present all of their tasbihat, their glorification, and their praising all to you. It means you deserve all of them. So we have this ability, but in order to, so even though we are not doing it, we can have this intention with God to the extent that intention is going to include however much I am aware of the glorifications around me. It means however much I'm in touch with the angelic realm around me.
Someone had raised their hand. Do you still want to speak?
Jazakallah khair, Yamina and Isra. It's making a lot of sense. And the image that comes to my heart is one time I was at the beach, and then there was a ship that was passing in front of the beach, in front of all of the people sitting at the beach. And that ship had a electronic screen. And on the screen, as the ship was passing by, there were advertisements for different manufacturers. And I said, SubhanAllah, like this ship, like people are like, manufacturers, they are putting their products in front of you to show you who they are. And they're, they're coming in your face. Like, who would think a manufacturer would advertise for a product at the seashore? Like, we use, several years ago, people would see like, an airplane with like, an advertisement or a van. But for me, that ship was very interesting. Then I said, SubhanAllah, Allah, like, round the clock, everything that's passing in front of you while you're sitting at the beach, you're seeing the waves. you're seeing the birds, you're seeing the water, you're seeing the sunrise, you're seeing the sunset. If you're not at the beach, wherever you are, everything in front of you is marketing or is praising its own creator. It's speaking about its own creator. So I guess, and what I do as I'm sitting at the beach is to appreciate, like, it's already there in my face. And my role is just to pause and read those. So these advertisements are passing in front of me. I could blink at them and then look somewhere else, or I can read those advertisements and understand what are they, intended for. And my role as part as I'm understanding right now is to read these continuous advertisements that are in front of me, and to appreciate and to say, yes, definitely, yes, this creation is worth being appreciated. And another image that could be related is that I attended a janazah, and in the janazah, the imam said, there's a gentleman who passed away. Every time I would see him, I would say, it's good to see you. And then the gentleman would answer, it's good to be seen. So I was also thinking, all of this creation that is there wants to be seen, just like that, manufacturers are putting their advertisements in front of us. They want me to see them, and everything that is passing in front of me wants to be seen because it holds a message. And I'm the only one who can read this message and appreciate it for what it is. So the relief is that everything is all the time marketing, the signature of its creator in front of my eyes. And my role is to take that in if I slow down and intend to read these as messages. And then it feels so good, because then you say, yes, that is true. The one who did all of this is definitely the only one worth of praise.
We had a question in the chat. Inaba was asking, what does the intermediate realm exactly refer to? I thought it was our sphere, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to confirm that first. And the other question that I had is spirit beings, because it is something that is unfamiliar in the language. Of what does that, what other than angels, which we are aware of, or we have heard of, rather, spirit beings. I mean, he said something of like made of not only light, referring to the angels, but he said something like air, electricity. I guess this just opens up, our spirit beings, just referring to those who have passed, included with the angels, or what? And yeah. Nurbanu, your thoughts. Dr. Yamina, your thoughts.
Intermediate realm, Dr. Yamina had clarified as the like the waiting room, I guess, after we die, and before we are resurrected. And she can expand on it if she would like to. We didn't get to the paragraph you're talking about, Sarah, yet. The spirit being in the original is Ruhaniyat, so for those who speak Arabic, I guess it's the plural of ruh. I don't have much more. I will get back to Dr. Yamina if she wants to expand the definitions a little bit. But one thing I was thinking about with the most recent conversation was when I reread this paragraph, I was thinking of how it seems like angels and I are like teammates. So right now in Virginia, where I live, the trees are turning the colors of the trees. And it's really like pretty around my house. And I like going on a walk like any day I can and kind of like looking at them and seeing how God is, changing things around. But I was thinking today that, I kind of see the tree as a whole, and I can, like, because I always do the same path, I can kind of see that, like, these trees were green, now they're yellow, now they're red, and the leaves start falling. But I don't have the capacity to reflect on each leaf and each process of change. But each one is miraculous. And obviously, I couldn't even do it for one tiny tree, even if that was my whole focus. So I was thinking the way I should relate to angels is that they are my teammates in praise and glorification, because they're doing what I can't do. They're kind of filling the gap. And then the meaning, I see, so that I felt like there was two different angelic aspects to it. The meaning I see in the tree, in that, what names of my maker, of its maker, is it communicating to me, is one angelic aspect of the tree. And the other is the part where there is a state of ubudiyah in beings that are constantly praising how the tree is being created and maintained and changed. So I thought back to Inaba's question from the beginning about how understanding, or how I understand angels, could change the way I see myself. And I feel like it's like doing a group project, and it's my responsibility to turn it in. So, we all have responsibility for like the praise, glorification, and actually consciously being in the state of ubudiyah. For us, it has to be conscious. I have to choose it. I have to be intentional. For angels, angelic beings, that's just how they are, maybe. But it's on me to turn it in, to present it to my maker through my salah, through my prayer. So I was thinking, like, that sort of changed the way I was seeing myself in relation to angels. So they're not this like distinct thing from me, but I actually have a responsibility to them. That's just a thought. I want to say we have 6 minutes left, so I will ask Dr. Yamina again if she would like to talk about intermediate realm and also spirit beings. And then for anyone else to have any comments before we close out for the night, inshallah.
I think what we said about the intermediate realm is sufficient for the moment, because we don't want to go in other lanes and then miss out the focus on what we're doing. The plural of ruh is arwah, and ruhaniyat is what pertains to ruh, what beings that have a ruh. So it could be ruh insaniya, like our own human ruh. It could be something malaikiya, like angelic, kind of subtle, I don't know if they call it spirit or something. And also other beings from other realms. For instance, we know the jinns also are conscious being, just like us, but they are not created from earth, so they are not physical beings like us. And I'll just add one thing, Nurbanu, when you mentioned the gap, that's only one aspect, and the other, for me personally, the more important aspect in the beginning is that they look to the angels are the messengers. In Alam al-Shahada, when I interact with the world, how do I learn how to witness? How do I learn how to glorify, how to praise God? It's through because there are teachers. That's why it's called Alam al-Shahada, because I observe what part of what I observe is their glorifications, their praising, and that's how I can echo back and mirror back and reflect back with my own praising. They are displaying, for instance, the beauty and the abundance, and that is making me, because it's already also I'm created with that fitra, to reply or answer back with praise and glorification. But the ones that are like the messengers and the teachers are already in the world. So, and that's represented by the angels.
Yes, Inaba made a comment in the chat that also refers to what Dr. Yamina was just sharing. She says, it seems like when I interact with the creation, let's say a flower, there's an invisible place where meaning is exchanged between us. It tells me about its beauty, and I appreciate that and confirm it, and it informs my perception of the world. So there's a connection taking place between us. And I would just say that it takes some presence, you know, like Nurbano said, you pass by the tree and you actually pause, and then we can become aware that we are hearing a message that is saying things to us, and the tree is the recipient of something. And then when I pause with the tree, I am then the recipient of the meaning being exchanged through this beautiful presence that is angels. I see Aliyat's hand up.
So just like describing what you just shared is the need, like the word insan, like I always focus on the part of insan that is nasiya, to forget, but also insan comes from like the need for uns. This uns is this very close relationship that makes you feel fulfilled. So now that you're saying this, I realize, putting them together, that you're either in a forgetful state where you don't feel this uns, you don't have this closeness, but when you're in a conscious state, like Inaba was saying, and you explained, that flower is the connection for you to feel that uns. It's put there so you can feel that uns.
Thank you, Alia. It is 9 p.m. So I want to respect everyone's time. This was kind of dense, but I thought we had a really good discussion. And we can definitely think about a lot of the things we talked about, and I'll try to send some of my points that I jotted down, but other people are also welcome to. Next week, we will start with this paragraph, inshallah, and we can end here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka anta alimul hakim. Akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Jazakallah, everyone, and good night.
Jazakumullah khair. And I just want to quickly say that it was very nice to hear Dr. Ibrahim after so long time. It has been ages, and just want to say salam. And also the halak is open to men and women. Majority is usually women attendees, but it's open to everyone, inshallah. And alaikum salam, Huda and Amina, Sister Amina.